Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say I'm always so thrilled to see, oh, hello, Pamela. I'm thrilled to see Pamela. But I'm always so happy to see more and more people coming out to talks about outreach and public engagement. I think it's the most important thing right now that scientists can do for the reasons we talked about. What I'm going to be talking about is a project that I was PI on for about 5 years while I was at the ASP. I'm retired as its CEO, but I'm as retired as Rick is. And basically, that project came from the AAS, where the ASP had been running something called the Astronomy Ambassadors program, where early career scientists, for the most part, were coming to the sessions learning how to be better communicators. And the one question that kept coming up over and over again from the group after they had all of this training from us and all of these resources is, I don't know if I know if they get it. How do I know if they're understanding me? How do I know if I'm making a difference? And so, you know, it's rarely this obvious, right? You end up seeing a group of people like yourselves, you know, sitting and watching, and I wonder whether at the end of this you're going to get it. So what we did was we asked the provocative question, what if we gave scientists, and I'm using the word scientists instead of astronomers because the NSF funded us not just to focus on astronomers, although we did, but to also focus on all the other science disciplines. And what if we gave scientists tactics so that they could understand what their audiences were feeling, thinking, understanding in real time? And here's the second part of it, and do something about it. You know, all of us, many of us have techniques that we use, and maybe you recognize them from what you're seeing up there. I do think, pair, share. I have my audience draw pictures. I ask them provocative questions. I have them do tasks. But do you pay attention to what they did and said and felt? And then do you change what you do in the moment? And that is an art. One thing I discovered and told these early career scientists is that this is something you practice. This is not something that the art of good science communications takes a lifetime to master. It's like learning a musical instrument. It's like playing jazz. You start with etudes and training wheels, and then you get better and better, and you can start to be more spontaneous and but do not expect to be a perfect science communicator in your first day, year, decade. The joy of being a good science communicator is like being a musician. It's the journey. It's becoming better and better all the time. So, having said that, I have 7 more minutes to teach you all this. So I'm going to hobble over here so I talk loudly because I used to work at the exploratorium, so I can do this. So, no, we need more. Oh. Hello, video people. I'm sorry. I'll stay right here. Oh, no, that's okay. You guys can read. I'm not going to point. So the first piece of this is the goal, and I think what Rick said is really important. We all want to explain everything to our audiences. We know so much, we're so passionate, we want to give it all, but your audience, I hate to say it, is not interested in it all. So you want to pick a very narrow goal that's not your favorite thing necessarily, but answers the question, why is my audience here? Unless you're teaching school, the people that come to your outreach are doing so voluntarily, and they're there because they're looking for something. Are they there because they want to see the beautiful photographs of the universe and be awed and inspired? Are they there because they want to engage in citizen science? Are they there because they really want to understand climate change and they want to know what they can do about it? Are they young? Are they retired? Are they in assisted living facilities? All these things have to go into setting a very specific goal. So let's look at just the top couple. And I'm purposely not focusing on astronomy because I want to put you in the role of learner for a moment. So let's say it's the human contributions to climate change. That's the goal. You might want to start with a poll, with a provocative question that sparks their curiosity. Maybe the poll is, which of the statements up here do you think best match what you think about climate change or what you think about human contributions? I'm going to skip away from the moon's phases for a moment. Maybe you're you work for the CDC, or you used to. and and people are asking you about COVID and the COVID virus, and they want to understand how to prevent it or how to whatever. So the goal is, how do viruses use cells to reproduce? Because people don't understand viruses. They really don't. And if you don't understand viruses, you don't understand why you need a mask and a K95, and you don't understand any of that. So maybe you want to start with the provocative question, okay, if this orange represents a red blood cell, which of these things on the table represent a virus? And I've done this with astronomers, and you all get it wrong. So it's a good way to start. So these are just some examples, and I think you're going to have access to these slides. But the point is a goal that makes sense, a singular goal, and some technique from our list, or something, that will get at what they believe. The next step is, once you know what they feel and think and believe, you have to be willing to change what you do in the moment. And that's the hard part, and I'm not going to actually teach you to do that. We have a guide that can help. So let's do one, shall we? I'm not actually going to have you do it because it would take a while, but let's imagine that I'm a nutritional expert and I've been asked to work with elementary school level kids, and they want to know about the digestive system. And I've done this before when I was at the Exploratorium. So let's imagine we know that food goes in here, and we know that poop goes out there. Can you draw what happens between the mouth and the other end? What's inside? You should try this. If you have young children, it's hysterical. It's basically a long tube, a big giant receptacle called the stomach, and a pipe that goes to the end, right? Okay, well, if that's what they know, I have a starting point. Maybe they're more sophisticated. Well, think about what would you put in here if you had a chance to draw? Would you include all of these organs? The liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas? So again, based on what they draw, you know where to start. How sophisticated are they, okay? And if you didn't know that, that's fine. Here's another one. I talked about polling earlier. So many of you may do citizen science projects, and I am an ornithologist, and I'm studying, obviously, birds, and I have a group of people that are going to help me do a bird count. And the bird count is ravens. But there's a problem because there's also crows in the area. Oh. How many of you can tell the difference quickly? And I want people to go out and do a bird count, but I don't want them to count the crows. I only want them to count the ravens. So the poll might be, which of those pictures are ravens and which of those pictures are crows? Dun, 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 dun. I happen to be a good friend of mine was a raven researcher, and we used to share notes. So I can pick them out pretty quickly, but most people can't. And if they're coming to do citizen science, you can assume they don't have a lot of experience with this. So I'm not going to ask you to, in your head, you can see if you can figure them out. But I might then, based on what the answers were, do a little tutorial. And it would not look like this on a, PowerPoint, but some sort of tutorial where I say, okay, raven beaks, ravens are often described as a beak with a bird attached to it. So they're all beak. They're big, curvy, chunky beaks, whereas crows are very delicate, pointy beaks. The necks of a raven, I always think of them like a lion. They are fluffy, very scruffy necks, whereas the crows' necks are nice and smooth. They don't have this kind of mane around them. And the tails are the trickiest bit. The tails of a raven come to kind of a point, come to kind of a triangle wedge shape, whereas crows are curved. And here's the other, I'm going to throw this in as well. These are just the ravens and crows in my little area that I'm doing citizen science. Crows vary, ravens vary a bit, but in my neck of the woods in the Bay Area, this is what crows and ravens look like. Okay, so now I've done the tutorial and I go back to the poll and I go, well, now I'm going to have you take a look. And you can think to yourself, which are the crows and which are the ravens? Dun, 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 dun. All right, get ready. Here are the ravens. How'd you do? And obviously, those are the crows. If my group still has trouble, I'm going to do some more. But again, notice that in each of these activities or each of these tactics, they're also designed to spark curiosity. People shouldn't feel like this is a test or a quiz or they're in school. It should be fun, or it should be something that makes them go, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know what happens between the stomach and the rest of the bits, you know? All right. So this is a bit busy, but the point of this slide is that there's more to the on-the-spot feedback approach than just setting a goal and using a tactic. It's about you becoming a better communicator. And the first is find a tactic, use it, watch what the people do. Remember, you're not teaching astronomy, you're teaching people. So you want to focus on the people more than you focus on the content. And you want to internalize what they're saying. What are they doing? What are they feeling? Is the rest of your presentation matching where they are? If not, you might want to make some changes. It's not easy to do, even just a few changes or one change. Just get used to that idea of being spontaneous. Once you kind of get their feedback, you want to sort of, this is a common best practices in communication, you want to share what you think you heard. Okay, I think I heard you say that you believe that humans might be the cause of climate change. You're not sure. Maybe you could be convinced if you only had an expert that provided you with the right evidence. Is that right? You know, you want to feed it back. And then figure out a way to build from where your audience is to where you were hoping to go. Okay, not easy. This cycle is the hardest part of communicating. So don't expect that you can look at that slide and go, great, check, I'll do that tomorrow. If you want to know more about the project, there is a website for it. You can take a screenshot of it. Do they have copies of the slides? Yeah, they're going to get.
It'll be on all the YouTube stuff that we're going to be putting out.
Okay.
Right now, yeah.
So you want to freeze your YouTube frame right now, and it's a long URL. But basically, that's the on-the-spot feedback site. And what you'll find there, in addition to the research papers and other things, are how-to videos. One of the things that I enjoyed doing was creating about 8 how-to videos, interviewing experts in science communications and asking them to give their insights into this. You'll also find 100 and some odd page on-the-spot feedback guide, which talks about everything I just said in much more depth. It's in 3 sections, and the first section is called Using the Feedback Response Cycle, and that is a very thorough description of every single tactic that I talked about: modeling, observing, accomplishing a task, kinesthetic activities, with examples from the scientists in the project who we trained. And they're from all kinds of disciplines. My favorite is a bat researcher who has children draw pictures of bats on the sidewalk with sidewalk chalk, and they're all evil little creatures that suck your blood. And she wants to make the point that bats are nice, that, you know, she studies fruit bats. And if you know anything about fruit bats, they're like, you know, kittens with wings. Then how do you plan and design? How do you set a specific goal? How do you think about what your audience will do? Who is your audience? I do a lot of work now in assisted living as I get older. um, and I just want to please remember that there are audiences that are confined to assisted living, hospitals, prisons, places where they would love to see you come in. So I'm giving a shout out to that. But how do you plan for those very, very specific audiences and their needs? And then how do you reflect after your event is over? How do you become a better communicator? And so in this huge manual, it covers everything you need to know about all of that, and I definitely recommend it. And I thank you for your attention and congratulate you again for your work in outreach.